So.
I think the reason that Pebble initially took off and had like one of the most successful Kickstarters ever is gonna be even more true now. I think people will still like this.
What was the reason in your
Just
head?
well,
Pebble. Do you know this name?
Pebble.
The word Pebble?
Bro,
and it's
Pebble.
not the social media network.
Pebble brings me back because Pebble's the first smartwatch I ever had.
Yeah.
Technically.
Oh, wow.
It was before Moto 360. I had like a red Pebble. I definitely did a video on the thing too. A red Pebble with a black band. And all it was an e-ink display on my wrist with notifications.
Yeah.
I didn't really want it to do too much else. It was just so I could have less screen time. I could just check my wrist and be like, oh, I can see what time it is and that I just got a text and I'm not even going to read it and there it is.
Yeah.
That's my Pebble experience.
Yeah. So Pebble was one of the most successful Kickstarters of all time.
At the time, it was the most.
At the time, I think it was the most. Yeah.
But they eventually went out of business, right?
Yeah. Okay. So they raised a ton of money. They raised $10 million at their first launch when they expected to raise $100,000. They became really popular with nerds. They released a bunch of new Pebbles throughout the years. They lasted about 4 years. And then eventually Fitbit bought Pebble.
Fitbit bought Pebble.
Fitbit bought Pebble.
Okay.
And they shut down the development of the Pebble 2 and the Pebble Time 2, and then they refunded everybody. It was a whole thing. And then, if you remember, Google bought Fitbit.
Oh, right.
So there's just been a bunch of like distillation of the IP of Pebble, and not a lot of people have used e-paper displays since Pebble. So that's something we didn't mention. It is a smartwatch, but it is an e-paper display smartwatch. Part of the kind of sell of Pebble is that it lasted 7 days. It did very basic stuff. It was very nerdy. It was a very open ecosystem you could develop for it. It was this awesome community.
You could see it in sunlight.
You could see it in sunlight.
Tiny 3-pin charger. It was pretty solid. I remember that now. The battery life being so long. Dang.
Yeah. Now, something you might not know is the founder of Pebble is Eric Mijakovsky, which is the same guy that made Beeper that we talked about a number of months ago.
Small world.
Beeper was that app that basically hooked into iMessage and kind of temporarily disrupted Apple until they shut it down. And I was completely wrong about whether or not that would last. But here we are. So Eric has been apparently rallying Google for a while now to open source Pebble because they have not been doing anything with it.
Yeah, it seems like Google forgot. I bet Google bought Fitbit and forgot that they had Pebble stuff in there.
Yeah, I think they also forgot they bought Fitbit, but yeah. Wow. So yeah, he basically was able to rally Google to open source all of the Pebble stuff, and because of this, he's bringing Pebble back.
And e-ink / e-paper has gotten a lot better since 2012, 2014. So bringing Pebble back could be kind of neat. Like, I don't know, I'm still picturing the same general premise, which is a smartwatch type device on my wrist with an e-ink display, a week plus battery life, and like a decently fast enough refresh that I can get notifications, I can swipe them away, maybe I can, control media on my wrist or something like that, like basic stuff like that. I think that would still be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that smartwatches generally are very overpowered for what a lot of people use them for anyway.
Yeah.
And just like on a lot of smartphones, people would trade battery life for functionality a lot of the time.
I would love that.
So Eric is basically starting a new company that is going to use the Pebble OS, but he cannot call the company Pebble because Google still owns the trademark.
Of course.
So he basically put out this website with a sign-up form where you can sign up to get updates on when new Pebble stuff is coming out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they won't call it Pebble, but they'll probably have, I'm predicting now, some really punny ripoff name from Pebble that reminds everyone that Pebble existed.
Yeah, I believe the website is called Repebble.
There you go.
So
there you go. Okay.
I got on a call with Eric a couple of days ago to talk about this, just to kind of do some Q&A. You will be able to build on top of the new hardware's software because Pebble is going to be open sourced, and everything that the new company builds on top of the software, they're putting back into the open source project.
Yeah,
which is cool. Which means you can build your own hardware basically and like flash it to it.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, so this is kind of like an open source device. They are going to build new hardware, so I would love to see what that looks like in 2025 because, like you said, the technology has gotten much better.
I want a Pebble in the shape of a Moto 360.
Yeah, without the flat tire.
Without the flat tire.
Well, they had the
Galaxy
Pebble round. They had the Pebble round, and it was basically in the shape of a Moto 360.
Bigger, please. Bigger screen.
Bigger screen.
Bigger screen.
Okay. Other cool thing, because it is open source, it can run on basically anything that has a microcontroller. So if you want to flash your Pebble OS to your fridge, you could probably do that.
Whoa.
Someone will probably do that.
Someone's going to do that.
Someone's going to run Doom on their fridge on Pebble OS, for sure.
Cool.
They are planning on sticking to the core feature set of the original Pebble. Eric says that not everyone wants all of the features that you're getting from the Apple Watch and all stuff like that. So that's exciting. He put out this blog that was about the things that he learned from having Pebble fail in the first place. And someone is working on a port right now so that you can develop on top of it. So it's pretty exciting.
The more you talk about this, the more I'm picturing like a pretty simple, clean smartwatch. Like simple watch face. Step tracker, sure.
Yeah.
Maybe heart rate. I don't want too much more than that. Like keep it easy, keep it simple, keep it like a week plus battery life. I think a lot of people would be into that. And it would probably be cheaper. Because you don't have this huge expensive LED display that has to get super bright. Okay. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Eric had told me he was going to CES to talk to vendors, and I was like, what for?
The vendors?
And now I know why.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm very curious to see what it ends up looking like for people to build on this thing, because the GitHub right now is like all written in C, which is very, to me, difficult to understand.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's going to be like an easier way to write for this platform. Kind of like, remember the Playdate?
Yeah.
That thing is like, the platform to develop for it was a custom software that they released that is super easy to use.
Like a game builder.
Yeah.
Thing, right?
So I wonder if there's going to be something like that.
That'd be nice. Right now, he only has 4 part-time employees working on this. So
That's all you need. That's
yeah.
fine.
I mean,
That's all Google has on it too.
Yeah. And they forgot that those people were still working
Yeah.
for them. So I'm very interested to see if the community that loved Pebble in the first place like builds this back up, if we get some normies on this thing. I think a lot of people are starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed with how much their technology is tracking them and the overkill of everything right now. You know, we've innovated past the amount that we need. So.
I think the reason that Pebble initially took off and had like one of the most successful Kickstarters ever is going to be even more true now. I think people will still like this.
What was the reason in your head?
Well, it was a way to use your phone a little less. Like you would get the notification on your wrist, so you didn't have to take your phone out your pocket. Mm-hmm. And then the notification would say like it's a text from someone or it's an email or whatever it is, and then you can just put it down. And then it would just go back to showing the time. And if it's simple, beautiful, shows you the time, and you're not like poking around and doing all gestures and checking your heart rate and all that stuff. If you just want a simple smartwatch, I think it doesn't have to be $700 smartwatch.
Yeah.
It could be a $149 smartwatch, and it could do all the things you want.
The animations were also very nice.
Yeah.
Also, this came out when the iPhone 4S was the newest iPhone. So, throwback.
Is that nostalgia too?
Yeah, I think so. It's the square one before they got round and then eventually got square again.
I think the 5S was the first one I ever reviewed. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The 5S.
Wow.
So to me, that's nostalgia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway.
About all for that.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Speaking of nostalgia, do you remember when the subscribe button on YouTube was gold?
Do I?
And by gold, I mean piss yellow. And you'd have to tell, and it moved around too, so you have to tell people to
It moved?
Yeah, it was in different places. So people would go, hit the subscribe button. Actually, I think it used to be above.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd always point, like, hit the subscribe button. And then people got really good at pointing to the exact location. And then they moved it, and every video was screwed.
Wow.
And everyone said, hit that yellow button, and now it's red now. And so now we're all pointing the wrong place and saying the wrong color. And anyway, nostalgia can have its ups and downs.
Eventually, they're just going to take away the subscribe feature altogether. It's going to say, we know you so well. No, don't do that. Right. Well, before they do,
hit the button just to make sure it doesn't go away.
That's true. Make sure it still works.